Across every continent on Earth, wildlife moves according to the rhythm of vast migrations and silent struggles that determine which creatures will endure. These are not gentle journeys or predictable routes. They are demanding passages shaped by hunger, thirst, fatigue, and the ever-present shadow of danger. Entire herds travel for weeks, sometimes for months, guided by an ancient instinct carried through generations. They follow distant storms, fresh grasslands, and fragile water sources that can disappear without warning. Yet this story is not only about those who travel. The perspective shifts. The world is seen through the eyes of the predators, the silent watchers hidden in shadow. The hunters that judge distance with precision, read the wind with patience, and wait for the exact moment when weakness appears. For them, the movement of migration is not simply a spectacle of nature. It is a crucial chance to survive. Every river crossing can become a deadly challenge. Every open plain may transform into a hunting ground. While some animals move forward driven by the hope of survival, others depend on that same movement to avoid starvation. Their destinies become tightly connected in a balance as ancient as the wilderness itself. In the wild, migration is a constant struggle. And when these great journeys are viewed through the perspective of the hunter, a deeper truth of the natural world is revealed. In nature, one life often continues only because another has come to an end. At the edge of East Africa, where the savanna stretches almost endlessly toward the horizon, the land itself seems to move. The motion is anything but quiet. A constant thunder of hooves, drifting dust, and vast herds rolling forward fills the landscape. Here, migration does not follow narrow paths. It unfolds like a living tide sweeping across the plains. This is the largest land migration of mammals on Earth. Each year, more than 1 million wildebeest travel alongside hundreds of thousands of zebras and gazelles, covering roughly 800 to 1,000 kilometers in a nearly predictable cycle between the Serengeti Plains and the grasslands of the Masai Mara. The purpose is simple and unavoidable: fresh water and new grass. Yet the simplicity of the goal contrasts sharply with the harshness of the journey. Wildebeest do not follow a fixed road. Their route shifts with rainfall, wind patterns, and the changing condition of the land. The enormous herd behaves almost like a single living organism capable of reshaping the environment as it passes. Grasslands are grazed down. The soil becomes enriched with nutrients, and weeks later, the savanna grows back with renewed strength. The scale of the movement is so vast that it can even be seen from space. For months, the plains resemble a dark, pulsing carpet that never seems to rest. The ground trembles, the air thickens with dust, and every stride carries risk. Because this migration is not simply a march toward abundance, it is a chain of dangerous moments. Among all the challenges along the route, none is more decisive than the rivers. When the herd encounters a barrier of water, the forward surge slows and compresses. Thousands gather along the banks, pushing, hesitating, retreating, and advancing again. Fear spreads through the crowd like a wave, yet the pressure of animals behind allows no pause. Eventually, one leaps into the river, and within seconds, the rest follow. What was once a calm channel becomes a chaotic surge. Bodies collide, the current sweeps away the weaker animals, and many lose their footing within the first few meters. The crossing has no clear order. It becomes a powerful overflow of motion and confusion, and within that disorder, another ancient presence reveals itself. Beneath the dark surface of these African rivers live predators that do not need to chase the herds across the plains. They simply wait. Nile crocodiles are among the oldest hunters still ruling the planet. With slow metabolisms, remarkable patience, and a keen ability to read their surroundings, they have long learned that the wildebeest migration is a recurring event, predictable, concentrated, and unavoidable. For much of the year, the river offers few opportunities, but when the crossing season begins, the balance shifts dramatically. Within days, scarcity turns into sudden abundance. A crocodile does not pursue the fastest animal or challenge the strongest. Instead, it takes advantage of confusion, crowded water, and a single moment of miscalculation. The murky river limits vision, the force of the herd disrupts balance, and one slip can determine the fate of an animal weighing more than 200 kilograms. Yet the migration never stops. For every individual that falls, many others reach the opposite bank. The strategy is not to remove danger, but to spread the risk. The power of the migration lies in its sheer numbers, its persistence, and its unbroken momentum. Those that fail to cross do not disappear without purpose. Their bodies become food for crocodiles, fish, and birds, and they also nourish the river itself. Minerals and organic matter drift downstream for many kilometers, feeding life far beyond the original herd. As long as rains continue to renew the grass and rivers continue to interrupt the path, this cycle will repeat year after year, transforming movement into survival, and every crossing into an opportunity for those who know how to wait. When the great river crossings of the wildebeest finally subside, the landscape does not fall silent at once. The rivers gradually return to their calm flow. The dust settles over the plains, and the herd continues its long journey. Yet the passage leaves behind a scattered trace across the savanna, still bodies of animals that failed to overcome the current, collapsed from exhaustion, or simply lacked the strength to keep moving. At that moment, another kind of movement begins. Long before any scent can be detected from the ground, small dark shapes appear high in the sky. At first they seem insignificant, barely visible against the vast blue, but within minutes their numbers grow, circling slowly and drawing tighter loops above the plains. To a distant observer, it may look like coincidence. For vultures, it is precise information. These birds are specialists at locating death across enormous distances. Some species can detect a carcass from many kilometers away thanks to remarkably sharp eyesight and an ability to read the behavior of other birds already in flight. The descent of a single vulture often triggers a chain reaction, guiding dozens more toward the same place. During the Great Migrations, these gatherings can become extraordinary in scale. Around the body of a single wildebeest or antelope, dozens. Sometimes hundreds of vultures may assemble, forming a restless mass that constantly shifts and reorganizes. What appears chaotic is actually governed by a clear hierarchy. Larger species claim access first, while smaller ones wait at the edges, ready to slip into any opening that appears. The transformation happens with astonishing speed. A carcass that might normally take days to decay can be reduced to clean bones in less than half an hour. Muscles, organs, and soft tissue vanish almost entirely. Nothing is wasted, yet their role extends far beyond feeding. Vultures serve as the sanitation system of the savanna. By rapidly removing large amounts of decaying organic matter, they help prevent the spread of harmful bacteria, reduce potential sources of infection, and limit diseases that could threaten wildlife and even nearby human communities. Research in several regions has shown that when vulture populations decline sharply, diseases linked to unconsumed animal remains increase noticeably. At the same time, opportunistic scavengers far less efficient at nature's cleanup often expand in number. During the migrations, vultures do not follow the herds themselves. Instead, they follow the consequences. Where massive herds move, mistakes happen. Where mistakes occur, death appears, and where death gathers, vultures arrive. Their presence also sends signals across the landscape. Ground predators learn to scan the sky, and human herders do the same. A spiral of circling birds overhead often means that something has ended below. But within the logic of the natural world, it is not truly an ending. It is a transformation. Every consumed body returns nutrients to the soil. Calcium from bones, microscopic remnants, and fluids that seep into the ground all enrich the earth. Within weeks, the place where an animal fell may become a patch of greener, thicker vegetation, a future feeding ground for the next wave of travelers. In this way, vultures complete a cycle that began months earlier, when the first rains awakened the grasslands. They do not chase prey or defend vast territories. Instead, they wait patiently for the inevitable cost of migration and transform that ending into the beginning of new life. In Africa, great migrations unfold under scorching heat, swirling dust, and murky rivers. At the opposite end of the planet, however, movement is governed by a completely different force, cold. Across the vast Arctic and subarctic regions where the landscape appears frozen in time for much of the year, life also travels great distances. But here, the motion is not loud or chaotic. It is quiet, steady, and relentless. Caribou undertake some of the longest land migrations on Earth, with annual routes that can exceed 5,000 kilometers. Their journey crosses open tundra, boreal forests, frozen rivers, and windswept plains. Often there are no clear trails or landmarks to follow. Temperatures can plunge far below -40 degrees, turning the environment itself into a constant challenge. The drive behind this movement is not only the search for food, but the need to align their life cycle with an ecosystem that can change dramatically within a matter of weeks. During the brief Arctic summer, the herds move northward toward areas where vegetation bursts into growth under the nearly endless daylight. Insects may swarm in great numbers, but they pose a lesser threat than the scarcity of food elsewhere. It is here that calves are born, with most arrivals occurring within a remarkably short window of time. This synchronization is no accident. By giving birth almost simultaneously, the herd spreads the risk. Predators are present, but when thousands of calves enter the world at once, it becomes impossible to pursue them all. As winter begins to reclaim the land, the direction of travel reverses. The herds gradually head south in search of places where strong winds sweep the snow aside, revealing the lichens hidden beneath the frozen surface. These modest organisms, which offer little nutrition for most plant-eating animals, form the foundation of the caribou's winter diet and remain one of the few reliable resources during months of near-continuous darkness. Physically, the caribou is remarkably suited to life on the move. Its broad hooves function like natural snowshoes, spreading weight across soft snow in winter. During the warmer months, those same hooves harden, allowing easier travel over rocky ground. A coat made of hollow hairs traps heat efficiently, and the animal's metabolism can slow to conserve energy when food becomes scarce. Even with these advantages, the migration demands a heavy toll. Sudden blizzards, early thaws, rivers breaking open ahead of schedule, or thick ice. Sealing food beneath the ground can transform a familiar route into a harsh test of endurance. In some years, the most serious losses are not caused by hunters, but by the climate itself. Predators, when they appear, usually remain along the edges of the herd, watching for the injured, the young, or those that fall behind. Yet unlike many other migrations, the greatest threat here does not come with teeth or claws. It arrives from the sky, carried on the wind and measured in dropping temperature. The migration of the caribou is not defined by dramatic chases or constant attacks. Instead, it is a prolonged trial of resilience. It exists because the Arctic does not allow stillness. To remain in one place is to risk disappearing. Moving forward despite cold storms and uncertainty is the only path that offers a chance to survive. Along the edges of the Arctic, where the ocean presses against shifting sheets of sea ice, migration takes on a very different form. It does not unfold across endless routes or sweep through vast plains. Instead, movement becomes compressed and concentrated. Walruses travel seasonally with the advance and retreat of the sea ice, which serves as a floating platform where they can rest between long feeding sessions on the ocean floor. There they spend hours stirring the sediment with their whiskered snouts, searching for clams and other shellfish hidden in the mud. When the ice retreats too far or disappears entirely, these animals are forced to find alternatives. That is when massive gatherings begin along the coastline. In certain parts of the Arctic, tens of thousands of walruses crowd onto narrow beaches or rocky shores. Space becomes scarce, yet the need for rest is shared by all. Bodies weighing more than a ton press tightly together, forming immense living walls of thick skin-curved tusks and heavy layers of insulating fat. From a distance, such gatherings might appear peaceful, almost like a sanctuary. In reality, they represent a delicate balance. Walruses are highly social animals, and staying close together helps conserve warmth while offering a sense of safety. But that closeness also creates risk. A sudden movement can trigger a chain reaction of shoving bodies, and under such immense weight, the pressure can become overwhelming. Each shift within this crowd leaves visible marks on the shoreline. Sand becomes mixed with traces of dried blood, deep grooves carved by tusks and scars from earlier conflicts. The soundscape never truly fades. Deep grunts, the collision of heavy bodies, slow breathing, and the constant scraping of giants trying to share an area far too small. This migration is not measured by the distance traveled, but by the intensity of the gathering. Here, the challenge is not reaching the next destination, but simply finding a place to stop without being crushed by the mass around them. Where such a concentration of prey exists, watchful eyes are never far away. Polar bears patrol these gatherings with quiet persistence. Unlike their usual hunts for seals on the sea ice, they rely less on stealth here. Instead, they walk, observe, and study the crowd. Among thousands of similar shapes, their focus settles on subtle signs: a calf drifting away from the group, an exhausted individual, or a walrus poorly positioned near the edge. Often, the bear does not need to create chaos. The environment provides it. A sudden noise, an awkward shift in the herd, or a ripple of panic moving through the tightly packed mass can briefly open space. In those fleeting moments, the predator advances, sometimes threading through narrow gaps between enormous bodies that are themselves powerful and potentially dangerous. Even so, most walruses survive these encounters. The strength of the species lies not in speed or individual aggression, but in sheer numbers. Healthy adults form a nearly impenetrable barrier. Their long tusks, tools for hauling themselves onto ice, and also formidable defensive weapons, create a zone of caution that even a predator as powerful as a polar bear must approach carefully. Once again, the migratory phenomenon does not collapse under the pressure of predators. Instead, it adapts. The crowd absorbs its losses and continues demonstrating that in these extreme environments, survival depends not only on individual strength, but on the collective ability to endure and reorganize. At the far reaches of the Southern Ocean, where relentless winds sweep across frozen waters and the cold shows little mercy, migration reveals yet another remarkable form. Here, the movement of life is not defined by long marches across plains or dramatic river crossings. Instead, it gathers in overwhelming numbers. On certain sub-Antarctic islands, entire shorelines cease to look like empty landscapes and begin to resemble living, breathing ecosystems. The bright white of snow disappears beneath vast layers of black silver and golden feathers. The ground becomes hidden beneath thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of king penguins packed together in dense colonies. From a distance, the shoreline seems to pulse with life. These gatherings are far more than temporary assemblies. They represent the center of a demanding and carefully timed migratory cycle that unfolds slowly over many months. Unlike most birds, the king penguin does not complete its breeding cycle within a single season. Instead, reproduction may stretch beyond an entire year. This unusual rhythm forces adults to travel repeatedly between the open ocean and the breeding colony. While one parent remains on land, carefully balancing the egg on its feet, beneath a protective fold of skin, the other heads out to sea, sometimes traveling hundreds of kilometers in search of food. These constant journeys create invisible highways through the surrounding ocean. Beneath the surface, king penguins dive to remarkable depths, often reaching more than 300 meters, where sunlight fades into darkness. Their bodies are built for such extreme conditions. Dense bones help reduce buoyancy. Their wings function as powerful flippers, and their blood carries oxygen with exceptional efficiency. Even their heart rate can slow during deep dives, allowing them to remain underwater for extended periods. Yet every trip into the ocean carries danger. When an adult returns, it brings enough nourishment to sustain its chick for several days. But before reaching the relative safety of the colony, it must cross the most exposed stretch of the journey, the narrow and uncertain boundary where ocean ice and land meet. In this shifting zone, protection disappears, and a single miscalculation can change the outcome of the entire voyage. Few natural events are as extraordinary as the migratory journey of salmon. Their story does not begin solely in rivers nor end entirely in the ocean. It begins with memory, a chemical imprint formed during the earliest stage of life when a tiny larva drifts through calm, freshwater streams. As the fish matures, this imprint becomes an internal guide, an invisible compass that leads it across vast stretches of open ocean and eventually directs it back with remarkable precision to the very river where it first began life. Some species travel more than 6,000 kilometers through the sea before starting their return. During these years in the ocean, salmon grow larger, stronger, and accumulate the energy reserves they will later depend on. Yet the most demanding challenge still lies ahead. When the instinct to reproduce becomes impossible to ignore, they leave the salt water behind and enter one of the most difficult migrations in the animal kingdom. Even the transition from saltwater to freshwater places enormous strain on the body. Within days, their internal systems must completely readjust. Organs adapt, their skin darkens, jaws reshape, and muscles reorganize, all while they push upstream against currents seemingly designed to block their passage. From that moment onward, they stop feeding. Every kilometer of progress consumes energy stored during years at sea. Each leap over waterfalls, each collision with rocks, and every effort to navigate obstacles drains reserves that will never be replenished. In many rivers, more than 70% of the fish never reach the spawning grounds. Yet the collective movement continues without pause. The migration rarely happens in isolation. Thousands, sometimes millions of salmon move upstream together through narrow channels, transforming the river into a restless living current. the water churns with motion, the flow becomes turbulent, and the riverbed vanishes beneath the density of bodies. This sudden concentration of life reshapes the environment itself. Rivers once poor in nutrients become centers of fertility. Nitrogen and phosphorus carried from the ocean nourish algae, insects, birds, and even the forests growing along the banks. The influence can extend far beyond the water's edge. Trees growing at considerable distances from the river may reach greater heights thanks to nutrients released as fish decompose along the ecosystem. Scientists have found chemical traces of this ocean-derived nourishment in soil many years after the migration has passed. Yet wherever life gathers in such abundance, it inevitably draws attention from opportunistic hunters. In certain stretches of the river, the terrain naturally narrows, shallow passages, tight rapids, and unavoidable waterfalls where the effort of the salmon becomes predictable. It is in these places that another strategy appears, that of the brown bear. Unlike predators that rely on long chases or carefully planned ambushes, bears often take advantage of something far simpler: reliable abundance. Over thousands of years, entire bear populations have synchronized their movements with the seasonal arrival of salmon. For them, this event is not occasional. It is a crucial part of their yearly survival. During the peak of the salmon run, a single bear may consume dozens of kilograms of fish in one day. This rich supply of protein and fat fuels daily activity and, more importantly, allows the bear to build the energy reserves needed to endure the long winter when hibernation slows its metabolism dramatically. Their behavior along the rivers is far from random. Bears prefer shallow water, natural waterfalls, and slower stretches where salmon must repeatedly leap upstream. By the time the fish reach these points, many are exhausted. Their reactions slowed after a relentless struggle against the current. With measured movements, the bear takes advantage of this moment, capturing fish that have nearly spent the energy accumulated during their entire life at sea. This relationship goes far beyond a simple interaction between predator and prey. It forms an essential link within the ecosystem. After feeding, bears often carry portions of their catch into nearby forests, leaving scattered remains across the ground. These fragments gradually become natural fertilizer, enriching plants, insects, and microorganisms far from the river itself. Scientific studies have even discovered traces of ocean-derived nutrients within the tissues of centuries-old trees growing deep in the forest. Evidence of generations of bears transporting marine energy onto land. In this way, the bear becomes more than a hunter. It acts as a powerful distributor of life's resources, carrying the richness of the ocean into the heart of the terrestrial world. When the paths of migration fade into the distance and the echoes of pursuit disappear into silence, one truth remains clear: wildlife exists in a balance sustained by struggle. Every movement of the herd and every careful calculation of a predator adds another chapter to an ancient story, one in which survival demands endurance, patience, and at times sacrifice. Seen through the perspective of the hunter, migration becomes more than simple movement across landscapes. It becomes destiny. For some animals, the journey offers hope and renewal. For others, it represents the single opportunity to remain alive. In this way, predator and prey are bound together by the same invisible thread that keeps the natural world in motion. Across the planet's most demanding environments, from scorching plains to rushing rivers and frozen mountains, the same truth persists. No victory lasts forever, and no loss marks the true end as long as life continues to move forward. In the wild, struggle is not a choice. It is simply the way life continues to exist. If this journey into the heart of the wild inspired you, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Join us on Beast Call Nature, where every heartbeat, every watchful gaze, and every encounter reveals another layer of the natural world. Across the endless plains of the African savanna, no victory is ever certain. In the natural world, every encounter is a high-stakes gamble where instinct, experience, and a single misstep can determine survival. Each chase becomes a harsh trial of endurance and accuracy, where even the smallest error can turn a hunter into the hunted or grant prey an unexpected chance to escape. In this land, a brief moment of resistance can shatter the balance of power. A sudden turn, a desperate charge, or a split second of hesitation is enough to rewrite the outcome of a hunt that once seemed inevitable. The savanna shows no mercy for mistakes, and it recognizes no absolute dominance. Even the most feared predators must risk everything each time they pursue a meal. At the center of this unforgiving world unfolds one of nature's most intense pursuits, the hunt within the lion's domain. Here, silence becomes a warning. Tall grass conceals danger, and every shadow may signal an attack. Yet even the so-called king of the savanna is not immune to uncertainty. Hunting is an expression of strength, but also of vulnerability where triumph lasts only moments and survival must be earned again and again beneath Africa's relentless sun. Under the merciless African sun, the plains shimmer with heat. Scorching winds twist columns of dust into the air, blurring the horizon and choking the land. Here, life hangs on a delicate balance. A single lapse can mean the end, and even the smallest decision can draw the line between survival and death. Across the open grassland, a buffalo lowers its massive head to graze. Its towering frame and sharp horns form a natural shield, yet in the act of feeding, a weakness is exposed. Just meters away, hidden within the dry grass, a pair of golden eyes remains perfectly still. A pride of lions has been watching for hours, waiting for the precise moment. In this open world, success is not decided by sudden strength, but by patience, timing, and flawless execution. There is no room for mistakes. Heat, relentless heat. Throughout the savanna, the lion sits atop the food chain. Raw power is matched with teamwork refined over countless generations. Together, these traits tip the balance in the endless struggle between hunter and prey. The grasslands are more than a home, they are a battleground where every movement can seal a fate. Every hunt begins in silence. The pride advances carefully, alert to the slightest shift from an antelope or buffalo. Once a vulnerable or isolated animal is identified, the strategy unfolds. Lionesses lead the approach, spreading out to cut off escape routes. As the trap closes, violence erupts. The prey fights back with frantic strength. That is when the males join in, using their weight and force to bring the animal down. Yet the role of the male lion extends beyond brute impact. He is not only the blade, but the spectacle. His dark mane becomes a banner of intimidation, drawing attention, spreading confusion, and breaking horned defenses through fear itself. He is a living distraction shaped by ancestors who learned that some battles are won with terror even before the first strike is made. Even with flawless coordination, success is never guaranteed. Only about 15 to 30% of hunts end in a kill. That is why the pride targets the old, the young, or the injured, choices that lower the risk and conserve precious energy. And when a hunt finally succeeds, the reward is anything but peaceful. The body of a zebra or buffalo quickly becomes a beacon across the savannah. Hyenas arrive, vultures circle overhead, and other scavengers gather, drawn by the scent of blood. This fierce competition plays a vital role in maintaining ecological balance. By keeping herbivore numbers in check, lions prevent buffalo and zebras from overgrazing the grasslands. This natural control allows vegetation to recover and the land to renew itself. In this way, the lion sets the rhythm of the plains. Every stalk through tall grass, every ambush, and every battle over a carcass leaves a lasting mark on the landscape. Under the harsh, sun-scorched skies of Africa, the lion is more than a predator. It is a keystone species holding together the delicate chain of life that defines the savanna. African buffalo move as a single force. They travel in massive herds and rarely break formation. calves and weaker individuals remain at the core, shielded by an outer ring of powerful adults ready to confront any threat. This formation is driven by instinct, but also by knowledge passed down through generations of survival. More often than not, it is the females who set the course, guided by memory, ancient grazing grounds, and distant water sources mapped in their minds. Adult males take on the role of sentinels, standing guard at the edges. The herd structure is flexible enough to adapt, yet strong enough to endure the harshest conditions the savanna can offer. Buffalo also share close relationships with other species. Oxpeckers perch on their hides, feeding on ticks and parasites embedded in the skin. These birds do more than clean, they serve as early warning systems. Their sharp calls alert the herd to approaching danger. When a predator makes its move, the response is immediate. The herd tightens into a dense circle, horns facing outward. This living barricade is incredibly difficult to breach. Lions and hyenas succeed only if they manage to break the formation or isolate a single animal from the group. Through their daily movements, buffalo shape the ecosystem in countless ways. They regulate grass growth, support large predators, and sustain species that rely on their presence. In the vast plains of Africa, buffalo are more than survivors. They are pillars of balance in a land where life and death are inseparably linked. In the heart of the African grasslands, where survival is a daily battle, a female buffalo faces her ultimate test. With a final surge of strength, her calf enters the world. Drawing its first breath under watchful eyes, some protective, others dangerous. There is no time to recover. From a distance, hyenas move closer in silence, their focus locked on the vulnerable newborn, sensing an easy chance. Exhausted from giving birth but driven by instinct, the mother positions herself between the hyenas and her calf. The predators advance cautiously, snapping and probing, testing her resolve, searching for a moment to pull the calf away. Her body shakes with fatigue, yet she refuses to yield. Each charge is met with a desperate counterattack fueled by the last of her strength. As her energy begins to fade, a powerful figure emerges through the dust. The father has arrived. He charges forward, hooves pounding the ground, horns lowered in defense of his family. The hyenas hesitate. Faced with the combined determination of both parents, their confidence dissolves into restraint. Together, mother and father stand shoulder to shoulder, forming an unbreakable barrier. Having escaped this immediate danger, the buffalo leads her calf across the open plains toward the safety of the herd. But in the wild, safety is never guaranteed. Ahead, two lions materialize without a sound, focused, coordinated, lethal. Moving as one, they begin to circle, their steps deliberate and precise. In a heartbeat, the calm shatters as the lioness launches the first attack. Mother and calf are pushed to the edge of survival. The buffalo twists and bucks in panic, struggling to break free as exhaustion takes its toll. The male lion joins the assault from behind, striking with claws and teeth. Driven by the instinct to protect her young, the mother refuses to collapse. With everything she has left, she fights to escape the tightening trap. The lion slips past the sweeping horn, circles behind, and strikes again. Drained of strength, the buffalo staggers beneath the predator's weight, her breathing ragged and uneven. Just as the struggle seems decided, another lion joins the assault, clamping onto her neck. With one final surge of defiance, she tries to resist. But the jaws of the savannah's ruler close firmly, bringing her fight to an end. The mother's strength fades. Her body collapses under the lion's control. Until her final moment, her determination to protect her calf never wavered. In the realm of the savannah's king, survival is unforgiving, and every second reflects the harsh, relentless beauty of Africa's plains. The dominant lion turns his attention to the calf. Its vulnerability is clear. Instinct overwhelms hesitation. In a swift, decisive motion, he attacks. Claws and teeth end the calf's brief struggle in an instant. The lion claims the first bite. Powerful jaws tear into the buffalo's hide as the rest of the pride watches closely. One by one, they join the meal, easing, if only temporarily, the hunger that governs their lives. Not far away, the male buffalo stands alone. The loss of his mate and calf is etched into his stare, heavy with grief and rage. Yet he is not truly alone. The herd senses his distress and gathers around him, massive bodies united by loss and rising fury. Shared pain hardens into resolve. Suddenly, the buffalo charge. Their hooves thunder across the savanna as they surge toward the lions with overwhelming force. They encircle the bodies of the fallen mother and calf, their fury intensified by loss and the instinct for retaliation. Driven by grief, they pursue the lions, relentlessly advancing like an unstoppable tide. The lions retreat into the tall grass, weaving and dodging the oncoming rush. The former hunters are now forced onto the defensive. Still, the buffalo press forward, crashing through shrubs, lowering their heads and driving ahead with a determination that seems inexhaustible. Cornered, the lions reach a stretch of muddy ground. Their paws sink slightly as they struggle to escape. The buffalo close in dangerously near, but the lions respond with quick leaps and well-timed swipes, avoiding direct impact. Gradually, exhaustion begins to take its toll on the herd. The initial surge of power fades. The terrain favors the lions and the cohesion of the buffalo group starts to fracture. Anger gives way to fatigue. Experience signals retreat. One by one, the buffalo fall back, aware that the cycle of life and death cannot be overturned. The dominant lion stands his ground, watching the herd withdraw, a stark reminder of the fragile balance between predator and prey. A silent exchange passes through the pride. The hunt is not yet over. Their focus shifts to the leader of the buffalo. In a sudden burst of movement, a lion lunges forward, claws extended, driving them into the animal's flank. A fierce struggle erupts. The buffalo twists and lashes out with horns and hooves, fighting desperately to break free. The lions close in around their quarry, each taking a precise position. The outcome is no longer in doubt. Just as the pride prepares to claim the reward of a hard-fought hunt, a new threat emerges. Another group of lions, drawn by the scent of fresh blood, approaches with steady strides and unwavering stares. The air grows heavy with tension. The two prides assess one another, neither willing to retreat. Hunger and survival fuel the confrontation. Lions clash, grapple, and roar, every movement charged with the will to dominate the kill. Then something unexpected happens. Without a sound or signal, an unspoken agreement takes shape. A brief ceasefire. The rivals tolerate one another and share the feast. In this unforgiving land, even enemies are sometimes forced to coexist. Each lion sees in the other the same strength, the same endurance, the same relentless struggle to stay alive. Beneath the surface of the earth, far from the open gaze of the savannah and the relentless sun, a story shaped by struggle begins. We return to the very beginning. Inside a hidden den, spotted hyena cubs are born. Unlike many other predators, they do not enter the world blind or helpless. Their eyes are open, their teeth already formed. This early development is not an innocent advantage, it is a warning. From their first moments, they are prepared for conflict. Even among siblings, survival is fiercely contested. The cubs engage in silent battles, each one striving to assert dominance within an unseen order that governs the entire clan. Every movement, every shove helps define a hierarchy that will shape their future. Cubs born to high-ranking females inherit clear advantages. They feed first, receive greater protection, and are treated with deference. In contrast, the offspring of low-ranking females must fight for every drop of milk, for every moment close to their mother. Inequality here is undeniable and often fatal. In some litters, only a single cub survives. This extreme behavior, known as siblicide, is not driven by cruelty. It is a harsh mechanism of natural selection rooted in the biology of the mother herself. Hyena milk is among the richest in the animal kingdom. Thick, energy-dense, and designed to fuel rapid growth. But it is limited in supply. The struggle within the den ensures that only the strongest and most resilient gain access to this vital resource. For several weeks, the cubs remain underground. They grow in near darkness, building muscle, sharpening instincts, and strengthening both body and mind. Then between the second and third month, a decisive moment arrives. They emerge into the open world and learn that survival demands more than courage. It requires discipline, endurance, and constant adaptation. On the surface, the entire clan is waiting. What once looked like playful wrestling between siblings quickly turns into hunting practice. The adults watch in silence, serving as living examples. Every movement is closely observed. The young test themselves in short sprints, rehearse ambushes, and practice mock attacks. This phase is decisive. It separates those who will thrive from those who will struggle in the unforgiving reality of the savannah. In the wild African plains where strength often seems to rule fate, the spotted hyena defies familiar rules. Here, power does not belong to the largest males, but to the females. They are natural leaders, relentless strategists. Hyena society is among the most complex of all carnivores, held together by a strict hierarchy that is firm, unforgiving, and deeply ingrained. Power is not challenged every day. It is inherited, maintained, and respected. At the top of this structure stands the alpha female, a matriarch who sets the rhythm of the clan's life. Her authority is rarely questioned. She determines who eats first, who leads the hunt, and who gains access to the best resources. This legacy is far more than symbolic. It shapes survival itself. Males, meanwhile, hold no permanent position. Even the strongest rank near the bottom of the hierarchy. When they reach maturity, they are driven from their birth clan and must seek acceptance elsewhere. They move carefully, display submission, and wait for opportunity. Those who are allowed to stay remain in modest roles, surviving only through the tolerance and approval of the females who truly rule this world. Despite this harshness, there is no chaos. Every member knows its place, and balance is maintained with near military precision. Hyena society is severe yet remarkably efficient. At its core lies one of its greatest strengths: organization. Behind the piercing laughter that cuts through the night stands a body and mind shaped by relentless pressure to survive. The anatomy of the spotted hyena is no accident. It is the product of thousands of years of adaptation. Its build is compact, powerful, and unmistakable. The front legs are noticeably longer than the hind legs, giving the animal its distinctive sloped posture. This design allows explosive bursts of speed and exceptional stability, ideal traits for long pursuits across the uneven terrain of the savanna. The midday sun burns overhead. The lioness has won the hunt, but the battle is far from over. They do not emerge from the shadows, but in full daylight. They advance like a perfectly synchronized unit. At the front stands the clan's matriarch. She does not rush, she calculates, she observes. With a single glance, the formation shifts. The escape route is sealed, the rear is cut off, the trap is closing. The lioness has raw strength. The hyenas have numbers and ruthless tactics refined by experience. Jaws capable of delivering over 450 kilograms of pressure, strong enough to crush not only bone, but the will to keep fighting. In this moment, the balance of power shifts. Here, dominance is no longer about muscle alone. The strongest is not always the biggest, it is the one who organizes best. Not far away, the Tsesebe antelope. One of Africa's fastest runners moves steadily across the open plains. These animals are true ecological trailblazers. As they travel into new areas, they help stimulate the renewal of grasslands. During the dry season, a tsesebe may cover dozens of kilometers in a single day, searching for the scarce water sources that keep life alive. The tsesebe is also known for its strong sense of curiosity. Instead of fleeing instantly, it may pause to scan its surroundings, a behavior as captivating as it is risky. Though its build can appear somewhat awkward, this antelope is capable of sustaining speeds close to 90 kilometers per hour over long distances. Instinct urges escape, but sometimes even that is not enough to outrun an extraordinary predator. Then the cheetah enters the scene, the fastest land animal on Earth yet, also among the most vulnerable. Its evolutionary journey began millions of years ago, shaped by a singular choice, extreme speed and precision, at the cost of brute strength. Females typically live alone, while males often form small coalitions, frequently with brothers. These alliances improve their hunting success and help them defend territory. Once the prey locks into its field of vision, the cheetah's spine coils like a spring under tension. In just 3 seconds, it explodes from stillness to nearly 95 kilometers per hour. Each stride releases pure energy. Its lungs expand to their limit, and a powerful heart drives oxygen-rich blood through the body to sustain the sprint. With a perfectly timed leap, the cheetah brings its target down in a moment of silent shock across the savanna. Even while gasping for breath, the cheetah must eat quickly. Lingering too long invites danger, as other predators may steal the hard-earned kill. The early years of a cheetah's life are filled with constant threats. Mothers give birth in carefully hidden shelters to avoid detection. The cubs are born incredibly fragile, making them easy targets for lions, hyenas, and even snakes. Cub mortality can be devastatingly high, reaching up to 90%. Only when the young are strong enough to keep pace with their mother and begin learning the skills of the hunt do their chances of survival improve. Despite standing at the top of the food chain in terms of speed, the cheetah's life is anything but easy. Its role in nature is crucial. By controlling prey populations, the cheetah helps maintain balance within the ecosystem. By targeting weaker or more vulnerable individuals, it supports the overall genetic health of herbivore species across the savanna. In this way, the cheetah is not just a symbol of speed, but a key guardian of ecological stability. High above the Miombo woodlands, a massive shadow glides in complete slants. It is the lappet-faced vulture, an imposing presence that seems to stand watch over the thin line between life and death. This species is the last living representative of an ancient lineage within its family, shaped by millions of years of evolution in some of the harshest environments on Earth. In the air, its movement is calm and almost invisible. On the ground, it commands instant respect. Its large, exceptionally powerful beak can tear through the toughest hides and sinews with ease. A small antelope can be stripped down to bare bones in less than 20 minutes. Faced with this dominant scavenger, even hyenas and jackals often step aside rather than challenge it. Its appearance is unmistakable. Dark feathers frame a bare head flushed with a deep pink hue. This featherless skin is no accident. It helps maintain cleanliness and allows the sun to act as a natural disinfectant after feeding on decaying remains. Unlike many other vultures, this species is typically solitary or lives in pairs. It forms strong monogamous bonds and builds its nests high in trees where both parents share the responsibility of raising their young. Each breeding season, the pair produces just a single egg, which is carefully incubated for roughly 55 days. The chick develops slowly, taking about 4 months to make its first flight and may require up to 6 years to reach full maturity. This slow life cycle makes every new generation especially valuable. Its diet is far more diverse than many people assume. While carrion remains its primary food source, this vulture is also capable of capturing small live prey and even raiding flamingo nests when the opportunity arises. Such dietary flexibility is vital, particularly during harsh dry seasons when food is scarce and competition is intense. Contrary to popular belief, vultures do not rely on their sense of smell. Instead, they possess extraordinary eyesight. From altitudes exceeding 1,000 meters, they can spot the faintest signs of death on the ground below. By rapidly consuming carcasses, they prevent the spread of dangerous bacteria and disease, playing a crucial role in maintaining the health and balance of African ecosystems. Spotted figures begin to emerge across the vastness of the plains. They are African wild dogs, tireless hunters of the Miombo woodlands. Each individual wears a unique pattern of black, brown, and white markings. No two are alike. Their society is exceptionally cohesive and led by a dominant alpha pair. Cooperation within the pack is so precise that it grants them extraordinary hunting success. As the sun sets, one of the savanna's most efficient predators sets into motion. Their strategy does not rely on ambush, but on endurance, coordination, and teamwork. Their large, rounded ears function like biological antennas, helping them dissipate heat and detect even the faintest sounds in their surroundings. During the chase, they encircle the prey and maintain constant pressure, gradually pushing it toward panic and exhaustion. Fleeing is a natural instinct, but prolonged pursuit is the wild dog's specialty. In the end, completely spent, the prey stumbles and falls before the pack. The feeding is swift. They must eat quickly before competitors such as hyenas or lions detect the scent. Adults carry portions of meat back to the den to feed the pups and any injured or weaker members of the group. The African wild dog plays a vital role in maintaining ecosystem balance. Its existence reveals the subtlety of nature, where every species, no matter how discreet or fierce, occupies an indispensable place. Amid the dry grass and cracked earth, the white rhinoceros moves forward with a heavy yet silent gait. Its name can be misleading. It does not refer to color, but comes from the African word wid, meaning wide, a reference to its broad mouth. Weighing close to 2,500 kilograms, it is the second largest land mammal on the planet, surpassed only by the elephant. Unlike the black rhinoceros, this species usually lives in small groups made up of females and their calves. Adult males, by contrast, establish their own territories which they defend through scent markings. The gestation period is long, around 16 months, and the calf remains with its mother for the first 2 or 3 years of life. This very slow reproductive rhythm makes the population especially vulnerable to any threat. Although its behavior is generally calm, the white rhinoceros can react with surprising speed. If it senses danger, it is capable of reaching speeds of nearly 50 kilometers per hour to protect its calf. For this reason, the loss of even a single individual has serious consequences for the entire population. By the end of 2024, it was estimated that around 17,400 southern white rhinoceroses remained in the wild. This figure represents an extraordinary recovery compared to the late 19th century, when the species was on the brink of extinction, with fewer than 100 individuals left alive. However, poaching for their horns remains a constant threat that continues to put their future at risk. On the African savanna, every battle ends without promises of eternal victory. In the natural world, no power is absolute and no triumph lasts forever. Each hunt pushes instinct to its limits and punishes the smallest mistake. One miscalculated step, a second of hesitation, or a delayed reaction can completely change the fate of both hunters and prey. Here, a single moment of resistance can shake the established order. Those who seem destined to fall sometimes find the strength to defy the inevitable. The savanna reminds us that survival does not always belong to the strongest, but to those who manage to adapt, endure, and seize the right moment. In this unforgiving arena, life is sustained by decisions made in fractions of a second. If these stories of struggle, uncertainty, and survival move you, subscribe to Beast Call Nature, give the video a like, and join us on more journeys into the heart of the wild, where every story is written under the oldest law of all: to survive.